Good evening. Welcome to the Upset Podcast. Tonight we are talking about navigating neurodiversity. Coming up next. Once again, welcome back to the Upset Podcast. We're so happy that you tuned in on this Sunday evening. We're looking forward to having a great discussion with you. And of course, we have to do it with the crew. And here they are. Hey, guys.
Good
Hey.
evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good Sunday evening to all of you.
Yes.
So I always like to
somehow or
ask, how
another-
was your week? How was everyone's week?
It's
Extremely.
it- so
extremely.
Sabbath was really good. Sabbath was really good.
The highlight of the week, right?
Yeah,
was.
Sabbath was awesome. It was. It
I
really
can't
was.
Yeah.
say I truly rested, but it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a guest. We had a guest speak. We had Dr. Trusty come through and bless us. And
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the OG.
That is good to hear.
Right.
You
yeah,
know,
go check it out.
Dr. Trusty and I were classmates at both Oakwood and Andrews.
Oh, okay. So
Oh.
then we kind of know
That's
where.
right. We're old school.
Oh, geez. Cool. So a lot was happening this week in the news with the stock market, and our president, your president, and these tariffs, and that 90% pause, but China, what was it, 125%?
That's what China did. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, there were a lot of theories out there that this was, a little ploy to, inside trading and all of those things going on, because there was this dip and then there was this huge jump on the 9th, I believe is when it happened. So I thought it was interesting. They always say hold, but they did say that a lot of people, especially those near retirement, of course, when they saw those steep declines, they were wondering if they were going to have their retirement money. They didn't have the time that some people have to watch it recover. So they took out all this, they got out and lost so much money only for like a few days later for it to go back up. So I know that devastated a lot of people.
It stayed down on Thursday. I mean, what was this? I think this was the tariffs were supposed to go in effect on Wednesday, or he recanted and took them back and said he was going to hold for 90 days.
Pause, yeah.
On Thursday, it was tanked all day. The market.
Oh, it shot up. I mean, I saw my stuff.
Yeah, it shot up at the end. Yeah.
At the end, like late Thursday or something. Because I know for a good while it was way down.
Yeah, it was down. And they always say don't even look at it when that happens, because they encourage people to buy during the low times, because obviously things are much more affordable, with the hopes that it'll come back. And I mean, it's not fully back to, I guess, where it was, but it's climbing, at least right now. So it was just interesting to hear the different stories about how people were impacted by it, and like I said, some of the theories. But I wonder, for our listeners, viewers out here, how do you, for those who are investing in the stock market, especially if you have a retirement plan, how you navigate those kind of things?
Well, you know what I learned, with all of these changes that Elon Musk was doing and going in and slashing people's jobs and putting them economically in a drowned position. You didn't hear from them until they started to lose their money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you saw, fighting, internally with other people, Navarro and, other people who were in charge of these tariffs. And I said, look at the lack of compassion for people As long as it's happening to others, it's okay, right? Because loss of money is loss of money, whether it's via stock or employment funding, even having to purchase things in the economy when it's so expensive. And so many thousands of people put out of work. And if you look at certain news, they'll show you personal interviews of people and they're crying and they're broken and they turned a cold heart. But when they started to lose their money, then you saw an uproar, right? I didn't know he was going to do this.
I don't know what he's doing.
We're about to go into recession. Nobody knew who knew he would do crazy stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
The heart just went out because they didn't care when it wasn't them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the devil works best in the midst of chaos. And it's interesting that a certain president is following that same game plan. Donald Trump, if you remember, those of you who remember his television show, The Apprentice, he continually would play people against each other to create a chaotic atmosphere. And now he's doing that on a world stage. And it's interesting.
You're fired. He's back too. You're fired.
Yeah, you're fired. Well, why didn't you do what's your name did? Or did you see what, I mean, and so he continually tries to create chaotic circumstances because it makes it difficult for you to keep an eye on him while he's doing what he does because you're just so worried about the chaos. But America has made this appointment for this time, and I really perceive that we have fallen under the kind of judgment that you would see in the Old Testament, where God withdraws his protective hedge, and you begin to experience things that you might not ordinarily experience. And I sense that this president is going to find himself facing judgment in short order.
Yeah.
You start with people's lives and their livelihood. I mean, we see, we've seen stories of when people have lost so much in the stocks, how they've committed suicide and things like that. And so when people really start to lose, it's desperate times for them, and people just might react in a violent way, not just to themselves, right? So
yeah, I mean, he's targeting, going after those students on universities now. And I mean, it's just crazy. I saw something the other day, I think it was Friday morning, just about some of the officers, some of the first batch of ICE officers are now, they have gone through all this training, and now they're ready to be, dispatched on college universities in Florida, so
horrible.
Yeah, crazy time.
Yeah.
Why is it your target? I mean,
well, that's what a bully does. A bully tries to target vulnerable entities, and Donald Trump is a quintessential picture of a bully. And I mean, he's playing. But there's one thing he didn't do with all of the tariffs that he was handing out last week.
Didn't do it to Russia, right?
There were no tariffs on Russia. How about that, Marlene? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
that was noted very much.
And how about that the young man from Maryland in the Venezuelan that's in the prison at El Salvador, right?
Yeah, crazy.
They tried to get him out. And then as they did many more reports and finding out some of the people who were over there, they said 75% of them have no criminal history.
Yeah.
That's a large percentage.
And they're in the worst prison ever, where sometimes you don't get food, sleeping on the concrete, and you're over there indefinitely. Now, when you lose humanity like that, and you don't care, and they don't even want to bring people back, that's I was like, okay, you're going to reap what you sow.
Yeah, I was listening to NPR, and they deported 2 females to El Salvador, and the president, he wouldn't take them. They had no criminal history, and they eventually they made it back. But I mean, the fact that you just sent them over there, just ripped them from their children, it's just crazy. Yeah.
Did you hear, Keenan, that they're trying to see if they could send Americans there, regular American citizens
to El Salvador?
Yep.
Yeah. This president believes that painful punishment is healing. And I mean, I say this from a therapeutic place. Donald Trump is an evil human being. And I don't mean I don't mean that in some colloquial way. I mean from an academic therapeutic place. His destructive behavior is reflective of the same evil that Jesus spoke of in John, where he talked about you are of your father, the devil, and the works of your father will you do. And if Donald Trump doesn't repent, I sense that judgment will come to him on the wings of an eagle.
Yeah. And you know what else I thought, Tally? I wonder what happened to him. Because
the trauma question.
Know, right? What happened to
what
him?
happened to him?
Because we know
that story's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that story's out there. His father was abusive, and his mother allowed it to happen. They sent him off to school away from home to get him out of the house. At one point, he perceived himself to be bullied, and he became a bully in school. His sister talked about the fact that he is a feckless human being without compassion, and that he has no soul. I mean, the story is out on him. There's a great book by a gentleman that used to come on my show that talks about Donald Trump, and Johnston is his name. I mean, a great book about what made Donald Trump Donald Trump. But the real issue is not him. It's that America wanted that. That was what they wanted, you know.
Yeah.
And in many instances, still do.
Yeah, he embodies what a lot of people feel.
Yes.
You know, so he's not like an anomaly. This is like what people truly deeply inside, he represents that.
And the fact that they identify with that. I mean, it's really humbling to see how many people have shown their true colors under his presidency.
And
most
Christians. Whole bunch. Like even us right now, just even mention his name. Some people say, come on, how dare you? He wants to do these good things for America and get rid of this transgender, and he wants to do all these great things. How can you just knock him? He's doing some good things. So
how do you turn a blind? I mean, even if somebody does one good thing, how do you turn a blind eye? I mean, one good thing in their mind.
I was about to say,
blind eye.
What makes that
do the other things, the horrible things that they've done? Like, it doesn't make any sense. How because you're doing this thing I want you to do.
The key point to the bully spirit is, and this was advanced by Dr. Yvonne Naj, who developed this concept of destructive entitlement. The key point of that is that it says, I have been so mistreated and so unfairly treated that what I do now is I am entitled to do. I am entitled to do destructive things to others. This is what happens in a war where people rape the women and kill children and all. It's because I've been treated so bad, I have a right to this destructiveness. And a bully convinces himself or herself that I've been so badly treated that my destructive behavior is warranted. In fact, it is justified. And America feels that the rest of the world is taking advantage of it. And white America feels like everybody's tried to make me feel guilty for stuff I didn't do that my parents did, even though I benefit from it. And now I have the right to do these things to other people.
Wow.
That's a whole nother show.
Story, they tried to change the story this week. Was it on Sojourner Truth? Her being a slave. Was it Tubman?
Was it Truth or Tubman?
Wait, that's what I was trying to figure out. But it was this week.
I heard about that.
The history on her.
You mean last week?
Was that? Well, yes, last week. But the I guess the public retaliated, and they had to put it back, into the documentary history. They tried to take away her being. I couldn't remember. It's either Tubman or Truth.
Yeah, I remember hearing something like that.
Yeah, I think it was
Marlene is beginning to make me think that I'm back in last week. This is,
Can't put nothing surprises me about Trump. Nothing at this point.
Yeah, I think when you know what you're dealing with now, you see it for what it is.
Yeah, but he, but as one comedian said, Donald Trump is not the hokey pokey. He is not what it's all about. It's our culture that makes room for and desires a Donald
Yeah,
Trump that we have to
yeah,
confront,
that's the
deal,
greater. Yeah.
Yeah.
our neighbors and friends who are decent
Mhm.
people otherwise.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah, we could talk about that all.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is not our topic for today. Though I'm sure every week we'll have something to say about this situation. But um, some of us know that April is Autism Awareness Month, and on the podcast we always like to use one episode at least to highlight this important topic. We always feel like awareness is there for a reason. Obviously, people within our community, our churches, our families have been impacted by autism, and we always often need to be more intentional about what we know about it. There's still a lot of ignorance surrounding what autism really is, and so we love to have discussions with people who are interacting with it on a daily basis, have it themselves. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at it from a parental perspective. We're going to look at it from an adult with autism, and just to get some insight and help us stay educated. Now, in terms of a formal definition, autism, which is also referred to as autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is a neurodevelopmental condition usually characterized by challenges with social interaction, communication, and just the presence of some repetitive behaviors or interests. Obviously, I was speaking with a mother yesterday of an autistic child, and she was saying autism does not look the same for everyone. So you can't look at one set of behavior and say, oh, because my child does not exhibit that, or I don't exhibit that, that means I don't have autism. It's a wide spectrum, which is why it's referred to as an autistic spectrum disorder, often referred to as neurodiversity. And so it definitely is a lifelong condition. It's not something that you could be healed from. It's not that type of thing. It's something that people live with. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the aspects, like we mentioned, the social interactions, communication differences. And I think it's important for us to understand, so that as we interact with individuals who exhibit some of these behaviors, we have a sense of understanding of where it's coming from, and lack of judgment. And there's so much more we could do in terms of church and individuals to be more supportive to families. I'm just going to go ahead and put a plug for our AEC Today reports coming out the fourth Thursday of this month, where we're also going to talk to some other parents and some of the things that they're doing in their church to make sure their church is friendly to those who have special children with special needs.
Mm-hmm.
So just putting that plug in. All right, so we are very fortunate to have on our team here someone who has an understanding of this. Because it's in his home, and that's Pastor Keenan Tyler. I'm not introducing you, but and so in previous show we had Pat, and we had a chance to talk to Joe and learn a little bit more about what it was like for them as a family, and so we have an opportunity to kind of have a similar experience with Keenan. So Keenan, let's just jump right into it. You shared that you have a daughter who is autistic. Tell us a little bit about her story, how you all first found out that diagnosis.
Wow, where should I begin? All right, so so basically, my daughter, she's 21 now. She'll be 22.
Oh, wow.
She'll be 22 actually next month. She'll be 22 next month. So basically, she when she was born, and when my wife was pregnant in the third trimester, that's when they say something. They don't know something happened third trimester, but basically, she got a few diagnoses. So
Okay.
autism is like on the spectrum, or on a scale rather. That's like maybe the lowest one.
Okay.
So when my daughter was born, probably about 2 or 3 months after she was born, my mom came down from New York. And grandmas, they know. So we made parents, we're always in denial, but grandparents, they know. So she looked at my daughter, she said, something is off. And we didn't think nothing of it. We just like, this regular. She just developing differently. My mom was like, no, something's off. Something's not right. You need to get a check, get it checked or something like that. So we took her to the doctor. We took her to the eye doctor because my mom noticed something with her eyes. And so it took 5 seconds. The doctor, the optometrist, he looked at my daughter. He said, "Oh, she's blind." So we found out she was blind.
Wow.
This is probably like 3-4 months. She's 4 months old. From there, they begin to do other testing. And so she's been diagnosed with this condition called septal nerve hypoplasia. And
wow, never heard that before.
Yeah, at first it was optic nerve hypoplasia, but then it came to septal nerve hypoplasia. And basically that means is that the optic nerve in the back of your eye is like very, very small, very, very small, microscopic at that. And it goes from the back of your eye through your spine, like it goes like all through your body almost. And so that part of her body does not develop. It's like taking a picture, but the camera does not develop. That's why they described it to us. So that's one. And her pituitary gland, gland that helps you grow. So that doesn't work correctly. So she has to get human growth hormones. And then the third thing, there's some fluid. One doctor explained it like this to me. My wife would tell you something different, but this is what I heard. There's some fluid missing in her brain. So cognitively, even though she's 21, she's nonverbal. So, and she still wears diapers. So, I mean, cognitively, we're not sure where she's at. Some things she can do no problem, but some things is a challenge for her. So she had that diagnosis for the first maybe 10, 12 years. And then eventually, because you get more services if your child has autism, he's like, she needs to be tested for autism. And so one doctor was kind of reluctant to do it. He's like, well, she has septal nerve hypoplasia, but another doctor's like, yeah, absolutely. She definitely has autism. So she got that diagnosis as well. And probably like 10 years after she was born. So that's been our experience. Of course, we're 21 years in, so we're used to it now. Right. I mean, but she's our angel. She runs our household. I mean, she has to have music. So her thing is music, because with autism, you kind of one of the things you gear towards something. Yeah. So what she geared towards is music. She loves music. So in her room, she has to have Barney songs playing on the TV. Okay. She has to have on Alexa, she got to have William McDowell music playing on Alexa, and then on her speaker, she has to have like either some old school gospel or Michael Jackson.
There's nothing. So how did you guys determine that? You said she's nonverbal.
Yeah, she's nonverbal.
So how did you look, like you played the music and she reacted to it, and that's kind of how you knew that she was.
So she qualifies as being nonverbal, but however, so there are some things she can say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she lets us know exactly. Okay. It's like it's in there, and it comes out when she wants it to come out. Like if she really wants something, she'll say Michael Jackson, or she'll say old school. That means old school gospel. Okay. Or she'll say Barney. Like, so she really, or she said, take her bites, or she wants milk. So the things she wants to say, she can say. So, but with typical kids with autism, one of the things, like when she goes to school, she got to have a block in her hand. She got to have a certain toy in her hand, or else she can't. It's hard for her to get on the bus. So we have to put the toy in her hand right until she get on the bus, and then take it from her. Okay. And so and so right now she's really fixated. She wants to drop out of school. She hates school. So like this your last year of school. They let her go until she's 22, but every day it's a fight with her. She like, school is closed. school is broken.
It's closed.
The bus is broken. Like, she's coming to all these things.
I don't know if I blame her.
I kind of feel like that myself. School is over.
Like at 22, I'm like, all right, are we done yet?
I remember when we had Pat on and he was talking about his son, and the thing that impressed me most was the window that it gave, not on his son, who also deals with autism, but on Pat himself. You know, and look, you're a military guy, tough guy out of Brooklyn.
Yeah,
you know, tough guy out of Brooklyn, and listening to you talk about your daughter, it gives me this new window on Keenan.
Right.
But can you expand on that a little bit as a guy who, you know, you're a tough guy, but you have to
keep stressing that. You keep stressing that. I got you.
But when you talk about your daughter, man, you a side of you shines out that goes way beyond the toughness, the tenderness, the caring, the compassion. What has raising your daughter and being the father of a child who was compromised by these conditions that you speak of, what has it done for you?
Oh man, we don't got enough time for that. But I would like to think that I'm a compassionate guy all the time. Dear
You
Tyler.
are, Dr. Tyler.
Thank
I
you.
know you from Virginia.
He is now.
Right, I am now. It took a
Have
lot of work.
always been.
Oh,
But back in the Brooklyn days, you have to watch your wallet.
Mercy.
You
Now,
might
that's
be
the people
kind
from
of
the Bronx.
you might be right when it comes to basketball, Tally.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I put the
You're
pastor
kinda
thing
scary.
aside on the court. The pastor thing is aside on the court. You know.
Okay.
And I apologize to everybody at Elbow and church. but no, so Tyler, great question. So actually, when we learned about my daughter's diagnosis, I was going to a prophecy seminar, right? So as my eyes, I always tell a story, as my eyes were being open, my wife and our eyes were being open to learning, all these great truths about the Sabbath. There's all these great truths at the same time finding out my daughter was blind. And so that, of course, no parent, was devastated, just absolutely devastated. I found myself, I even argued, that same doctor who told us, hey, your daughter is blind. Like, I was in there almost arguing with him. I'm like, no way, no, not my daughter, no. And he's looking at me like, I'm just telling you, he's like, don't kill the messenger. But I was extremely frustrated with God.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I still wrestle with that. That's a daily thing that I wrestle with. Because of course, you go comparing. You're like, man, I know I did some crazy stuff in my time, but I'm like, these people, it's murderers out there that got healthy kids. So always that's something that still wrestle with. That's a daily thing. But how has it shaped me? How has it shaped me? A lot of faith. Truly take that. It's not just a saying, but walk by faith and not by sight. Like literally, I have a child that literally walks by faith. Like she literally,
how about that?
has to, because she can't, so she has to rely on what she can hear. She has to rely on
and who she can trust.
And who can she trust? So just saying that my walk with God definitely, I have a higher, pain tolerance or, for certain things in my life, having a child with special needs. And then of course it made me more sensitive, so so anybody because we all got special needs in some type of way. So it definitely made me more compassionate to people, period. Because we all dealing with something. And one time, I say this, Tyler, one time I was at the hospital, I was in the Navy hospital or the Army hospital. I think it was on the Army base, Army hospital. I took my daughter to the clinic, and a lady, she saw me struggling with my daughter. She's probably about 6-7 months. She saw me struggling with her, just trying to get her calm. And so this lady, she walked up to me. She said, I have a child. She said, I have 2 children with special needs. I know what you're going through. And in my mind, I'm like, how did you know my daughter has special needs? She's only 6 months. You can't tell. But she saw it.
6 months.
at 6 months. And and I was like, man, that's wow, she has two. I couldn't even imagine two kids with special needs. But I said that to say that we all going through it. You know, this her showing compassion to me at that time, that meant a lot. And so I try to just repay that favor as well.
Dr. Tyler, you know, I've seen and heard stories of people with children with special needs, and they speak of, I don't want to say the trauma that happened to the family, you know, when they found out that their child had a diagnosis. But, you know, it was very disheartening because, you know, they were praying for a normal child, and then they found out that it was going to take everything they had to raise their child. But the love for their child was so great that they considered it a blessing in disguise, and how it has helped the family a lot. I remember when my boys were traumatized so badly when their mom died. And my oldest son was so traumatized at 10, he was diagnosed with major depression at 10 years old, severe ADHD with impulsivity. It was oppositional behavior defiance and something else. And they said he would be like a special needs child. And it was traumatic for us. I mean, you know, in just dealing with him, but it all came from his trauma and something else that had happened to him. And, you know, but when I look back over it, you know, I was like, Lord, I wouldn't have changed one thing. I would have still, you know, taken, because my boys are adopted, I would have still taken him. And I ask you, and I know you and Ebony, and you guys are great people. And I can only imagine that through your trauma, still your baby girl has been a blessing. Can you do you agree with that? Can you expound on how it impacted your family?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my daughter has absolutely been a blessing. But you know, early on, and I still wrestle with this, you know, I don't even believe I'm having this conversation without crying. You know, normally I'm bawling crying at this point, you know, but early on, you would hear things, people say things like, you know, God gives his toughest battles to his toughest soldiers. And you
Yeah.
know, you hear things like that. You're like, I don't want to hear none of that. You know, no,
Yeah.
just you
Like,
didn't have to
thank
say
you.
that.
No, thank you.
Yeah, keep that to yourself.
Yeah.
But of course, just after 21 years, we definitely, my wife and myself said that my daughter, you know, has been an absolute blessing. And who knows, I may not even be in the church if
Yeah.
my daughter wasn't in her condition. I would hate to say that. I really would hate to say that, but I don't know. You know, my wife, she always said that she probably wouldn't have been in the church if
Well,
my
that's
daughter
good. She
wasn't.
had you.
But no,
Yeah.
Keenan, just hearing you say that is making me think, like, the things that people say to
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
Um, but yet you shared with us what someone did say to you in the supermarket that was encouraging.
Yeah.
So
At the
what
doctor's
I'm
office.
sorry, at the doctor's office. So for a parent right now who's struggling, even as you admit it, it's still sometimes something that you grapple with.
Yeah.
Let's
Every
say
day.
for a parent who recently received this diagnosis, what's your best advice to them in terms of reconciling whatever it is that's going on? And, you know, because sometimes people delay in
Yeah.
checking out resources because they're still in that state of denial or shock. So what would you say?
Yeah, I would say, you know, you got to get over the denial. I know it's hard, but you got to get early intervention is so important. You
Mhm.
know, as soon as you find out, as soon as you even think, you know, take your child to the doctor, then they have those different tests, there's different types of tests to determine autism. But get that early intervention as soon as possible. And I know a lot of parents, I'm not going to say a lot of parents, I've met a parent or two who were in denial, who are very much in denial.
Hmm.
And I would say you don't you're going to hurt your child. So get that early intervention. And yes, it's tough. I would say find a support group. My wife and I, we always said that when we have more time, we're going to start a support group for parents with special needs. But there are support groups out there. My wife is on a bunch on some Facebook groups. Get that support, because when you know that there's a community, it helps. And then if you're not a parent of a child with special needs, it's hard for other parents to relate.
Yeah.
Like they'll say, like,
we can listen and empathize, but
but like we're in a completely different world. Like a completely, like I see things differently. We're in a completely different world. And only if you have a child with special needs, you can really, really understand that.
Yeah. There's so many things that you have to consider when leaving the house versus the average parent. You're making sure certain things are in place, making sure she has the toy, her toy, or whatever she needs. So you're right. It's like,
and Latasha, let me say this, and then there's certain things, like as a pastor, and I'm glad, I'm thankful for all the churches that I've pastored who are very understanding. There's certain things that I just can't do. It's just not going to happen. So my wife and my daughter come with me to church. If they both come with me to church, there's only a certain amount of time I can stay after church. I would love to fellowship, hang out, but I just can't, because my wife, my daughter, she's ready to go. So, and she'll tear a place up. So we gotta
just tear it up.
I mean, real quick, and because I know we're evolving. God, we don't see God. He doesn't sit down in the pew next to us, but we relate to God. Autism affects the ability to connect and relate. How does your daughter conceptualize and perceive of God? I mean, she is in the environment where God is often spoken of, but having this social relationship disorder that we call autism changes the way you relate. So how does she relate and connect to God from your perspective?
Right, because she's not verbal in that sense like that. So we will never, well, should I say, we don't really know. We only could take a guess.
Okay.
But she loves gospel music. Like she could stay in church all day long. But once she hears the amen, she knows when the benediction, she knows it's time to go. So we really don't know. We just know that she loves gospel music. That's the only thing that we do know.
Okay.
And old school gospel. I mean, she's specific.
Yeah, she want James Cleveland. She want that type of music. Yeah.
Wow.
The girl got taste. I like that. She got taste.
Okay. I think I met her. Remember when we came out to your church a long time ago? I think it was Coastal Shores.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember meeting her when.
And yeah, she was there.
Yep. She's your middle child, is that right?
Yeah, she's my middle child. Yep.
Were you fearful the third time?
No, I wasn't. With my son, he's the baby. No, wasn't fearful.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Look, when the fourth one comes, man, you guys.
Yeah.
The
fourth one. Yeah.
But no, Keenan, we definitely appreciate you sharing more.
Yeah, man. From the heart, bro. From the heart.
I think it's important because one of the things I'm realizing too, even with this awareness, is it gives people an opportunity who don't really talk about it. Because I'm not saying this is your case, but I talked to one parent who was saying sometimes there's some shame around it. There's a shame, they don't want to verbalize it. They don't want people to know. Some people just don't want people in their business. They don't want people to pity them or whatever. And so they just don't talk about it. But I think the more we talk about it, the more we can create understanding and, as you said, create community. Because I may not be able to relate, but I can still assist, or because I'm aware of certain things, I can say, do you need me to do this, or how can I help, or so thank you for sharing that. Now we do have another guest, because I know we
another guest.
Well, you're not a guest, but we do have another person for our hot seat, if you will. And I'm going to introduce him to you all now. Hi, Will.
Hey, Will.
Oh, sorry, my mic wasn't on.
It's okay. It's okay.
Everybody,
Thanks.
good to
Hello,
see you.
hello.
Good to
Thank
see
you
you,
for
Will.
having me on. I am so honored just to be asked to do this. And once again, Sister Latasha, Pastor Tally, Pastor Keenan, Pastor Marlena, thank you guys so very much for the opportunity to do this.
Awesome. We're so
Oh,
glad you were
Privilege, man.
available to be here with us. I should be calling you Elder Will Smith because you are an elder. Shout out your church for those who don't know.
It's the New Life Seventh-day Adventist Church. I know there's about maybe 3 or 4 New Lifes in the Allegheny Conference, but we are one of them.
Okay.
New Life Seventh-day Adventist Church in Salisbury, Maryland. It's in the Bay Area of the Allegheny East Conference, where we always like to say, we bring new life into your life.
come
All
on.
right.
Every week we say
Listen to
that,
that branding.
and we don't just say it because it's just a saying. We really mean it.
All
Let me
right.
ask you a question, Elder. How
Yes.
long have you been a member of New Life Church?
How long have I been baptized?
No, I mean, how long have you attended? How long have you and your
Pretty much all my life, all my entire life, been a part
because
of that.
I used to pastor there back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
When
So that's
the church was on Jersey Road, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wow. What a small world, man. What a
It
small
is,
world.
man. It is.
Were you born then, Will? Elder Will?
Yes.
in the 80s.
I want to
Yes.
know if you were a baby in his audience.
Yeah, I was definitely the church baby. Well, not the church baby, but I was a church baby.
Yeah.
Been a
Thank you
part
for
of
that
all the
reminder of my.
whole time. Then it became New Life back in, I believe, 2000, the year 2000. We
Yeah.
changed,
Yeah.
and here we are today. Absolutely been a part of that church my whole entire life, but didn't get baptized until about 2004.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, count that. Yes, absolutely been a part of that church my entire life.
Yeah.
All right. So, Will, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what are some of your interests? Who are you?
So, oh, give me 1 second. Something happened to my thing for a second. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
This moment of quiet is brought to you by the Free Library of Philadelphia. The silence is golden.
But so I'm 31 years old. I'm a member of New Life, an elder, assistant to our AY leader, who happens to be my brother, Harvey Smith III. Shout out to you. Um, Also a musician there at the church. I wear so many hats, man.
Hmm.
And I love wearing all of them. Um, yes, I'm 31 years old, born September 1st, 1993. I'm the oldest to my 2 brothers, Harvey III and Stephen. My mother, born to my parents, Tanya Smith, who's still here today, and then my late father, Harvey Smith Jr., who passed away in 2020 due to COVID.
Wow.
Graduate of Wycomico High School 2011. Went to the Workforce and Technology Center in Baltimore, a vocational school for students with disabilities. Graduated there in 2013 from the Office Technology Administrative Professional Program. Married for 7.5 years. Matter of fact, almost 8 years to my lovely wife Bria.
Hmm.
We don't have any kids yet, but by the grace of God, we will.
All
Amen.
right.
Okay.
Name it and claim it.
And I just love exactly what I do and how I'm doing it in this day and age. I'm also part of a community organization called the Watchman with One Voice Ministerial Alliance, headed by a local pastor in the area who's a Baptist preacher, by the way. His name is Reverend Dr. Lewis Watson. He's the president of the alliance. Um, and I'm also a lover of bow ties, lover of people, and just a plain lover of God, and just love to have fun and love to do what I do. Make
Amen.
people happy.
No, I mean, if you didn't tell us that you had challenges in your life, we wouldn't know. But there's this book by Dr. Gabor Mate called The Myth of Normal, where, and all of us want to be, quote, normal, but he's saying that there really is no normal. As you were growing up and developing, did you ever feel as though you were being singled out for not being, quote, normal? Or did you ever feel like you were trying to be some kind of standard of normal that you couldn't chase? And if so, how did you deal with that?
Good question. Um, yes and no. I'll answer both questions for you. Um,
Okay.
yes, I really wanted to feel normal in a world where I was on the outside looking in. This
Hmm.
goes back to elementary school. I was always the church boy. Love wearing ties when I went to school. At one point in time, I brought preaching to school, and people laughed at me. They really laughed at me.
Yeah.
And I never understood why they laughed at me. Until one day there was a teacher that came up and said, "Well, don't worry about that. If that's just what you want to do, you go ahead and do it." So they
Mm.
encouraged me. It was, and I think there was just one or two people there that really encouraged me. Well, you're gonna be a real good pastor one day. I'm like, you think so? Not in that nonsensical way or shape or form or whatever. But yeah, I've always wanted to feel normal. But as I grew over time, I developed and realized that you ain't got to worry about that. Just be who you are. And
Yeah.
my parents told me from the very beginning. My parents, my pastors that have served me, even some of the people that I've ran into contact with, they said, "Well, you ain't got to be nobody else but yourself."
Yeah.
Mm.
And I live by this model, and I think I shared this when I was on the AEC Today Reports interview.
Mhm.
I said, "Be you, be kind and true, and the whole world around you will love you and see it too." And
Mm.
I always live by that motto. And ever since, I've been joined at the hip, and now I don't have to feel normal anymore. Back in the day, I did, and I just wanted to, and I realized over time too, I'm just like everybody else.
Mm.
I
Yep.
just express myself in a different way.
Mm.
And that's what I wish people will understand about autism.
Mm.
We're just like you, we just do stuff differently.
Mm-hmm.
You may not understand, but we do. And hey, you don't understand it, okay.
Yeah.
But it's no slap in the face to anybody because we
Yeah.
do what gets us.
Mhm.
We
Well,
understand what gets us.
as
Right.
quiet as it's kept, I've always wanted to feel, quote, normal as well. But I got sage-like advice from a philosopher who said, "Be who you is, because if you be who you ain't, then you ain't who you is." And
That's right.
so,
That sums it up, right?
yeah,
That's
just
right.
Mhm.
keep on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There was a study done. I forgot 2014 or 2004. I forgot by whom, and they did this thing they call it Chinese listening. I think it's called. You know how when you whisper something to somebody's ear, then it goes all the way around
Oh
and
yeah,
see
yeah.
if
Whisper down the
the
Like
message.
lane.
telephone.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see if it comes back. So the experiment they did first with a quote normal people, and the message came around. Then they did it with people who were diagnosed with autism. The message
Yeah.
came, and they found out that the message, as with clarity or as distortion, whatever, it was the same in both groups. It's the same in both groups, right?
Mm.
The communication the same. But then when they mix the groups together, mixed with those who were diagnosed with autism, those that were not, then the message came back really distorted.
Mm.
And so what they learn from that is that, like you said, Tally, what is called normal is
Yeah.
some people with autism, they just communicate in a different way.
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily that they have an issue. Maybe the people that does not have autism, maybe they have the issue with
Yeah.
communicating. So that was just an interesting study.
Mhm.
Yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
So, Will, you know, I think we had talked about this before, but remind me when you first became aware that you were autistic. Did your parents sit you down? Like, how did that come that you came to know I have autism and this is what it means for me?
So yes, I was 3 when I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. But it didn't
Okay.
start out necessarily as Asperger's syndrome until later on they found out what it really was when it was that.
Hmm.
Beforehand, it was severe autism. It was labeled severe autism because
Wow.
at that time I did not like to be touched. I did
Hmm.
not like being around people. Didn't like certain sensory things, like hearing air brakes and applause. Bean bags, textures would even scare me. I was teased with bean bags when I was younger, and it's kind of a thing that kind of traumatized me a little bit to this day.
Wow.
Kids in class would tease me with it, throw it at me and stuff, and I would scream. Same thing with when I was in church. I don't know if you probably weren't around when I was there, Pastor Tally, but Pastor Henry Davis, huge shout out to him. He was my very first pastor there at the church.
Hmm.
They had a
Yeah.
concert day at the church, and when people started applauding, I didn't like the noise or anything. I didn't even want to be sitting at a church in a concert, and I just couldn't take the noise and everything, and it overstimulated me so much to the point where I just started screaming and crying and everything. And my mom specifically, she had to carry me into the Sabbath school room in the back
Hmm.
in order to help me calm down and be relieved of the noise because I did not want to be in there. I didn't like concerts for that reason. I didn't like being in church for a long time for that reason. Now, regular church service, okay, I could handle that, you know.
Right.
But concerts and big, huge events where there's a whole lot of people, I couldn't do that. It overstimulated me. So
Hmm.
yeah, I was 3 years old when I found this out, and over time, I did progress. Praise God. I can't tell you how I progressed. I wish I could tell you.
Hmm.
That would be a whole nother conversation. But by the grace of God, I just improved over time, and the Lord just kept guiding my every footstep to the point where I am now, where noises don't even phase me anymore, and certain
Hmm.
things don't scare me anymore. And I'm like, okay, this is normal. The only thing I guess I really haven't quite grown out of is some of the very smaller sensory things like bean bags and things of that nature. But other than that, I think I've grown pretty well. I thank God for it.
Yeah, that's
Elder
amazing.
Swift, go ahead, Marlene. I'm sorry.
So, Elder Will, I have a question. Do was there a time that you were nonverbal? Like, at what age did you start to speak? Do you have stories of that from your parents?
Um, I can't remember verbatim all of it in my head, but I can tell you I was very nonverbal when really when I was a baby. I mean, obviously,
Mhm,
but probably a little after, a couple years after the diagnosis, I started speaking.
mhm.
Mhm.
Once again, I can't really tell you how I progressed over that time, but I can tell you that I have progressed in a
Got you. Because
sense.
Oh, we take note of that.
Yeah.
I know one classical sign that people look at is, your ability to speak, because even as a toddler, you start to have hundreds of words. And sometimes some of the little babies will just, say like cookie, cookie, they wouldn't say, Mom, may I have a cookie? They just may speak out a word. Now, my second question, were there ever in your early age, did you feel different from others?
Yes,
Hmm.
very much so. Felt different for the fact that I'm autistic. Felt different for the fact that I go to church a lot and I love church. Felt different because I was and still to this day, I'm a very organizational person.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Um, when I was younger, I'd like to organize cars and shoes and things of that nature. Funny story. And I shared this when I was interviewed by you, Sister Latasha.
Hmm.
Um, I was in I was having church in my own room. So after service, after we got out of service, this goes back to when Pastor Davis was still with us, and even all the pastors after. Had church in my own room, organized shoes, stuffed animals, different toys, toy cars, lined them up as church members. Had elders sitting in the front area outside of the bed. The bed was the pews. I had a bar stool with my Bible, made up bulletin that I wrote all down by myself. Had a karaoke machine sitting on the top of my dresser and a little keyboard. So I was basically the preacher and the musician. So church has really been in my blood the whole time. But yes, I felt very, very different in this, and it was more so like a I don't like this type of different. But over
You know,
time, thank the Lord that I'd grow to realize the fact that hey, it's okay to be different.
Amen.
Elder Smith,
And you're different because you're peculiar. You know how the Bible says you're a peculiar people, a royal
yeah,
priesthood,
Elder Will,
chosen
preach.
generation.
yeah. We might have
That's
to take
when I
an offering
realized
here.
it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question, Elder Smith, and that is, you made mention of your structural, the need to create structure and your music ability. Very often, people who, especially who have Asperger's syndrome and other what they would call high functioning individuals, they develop certain skill levels that are beyond the norm. You know, they might become very musical, or they have a great capacity for memory. Did you ever notice yourself developing any special skills or any special tools that were advanced beyond what we might consider normal, like your musical ability or anything like that?
Oh, yes. People have told me all the time, and I developed this when I was in fifth grade music class. Mr. Linksweiler's class at Pinehurst Elementary School. Shout out to
Mm.
Pinehurst, by the way, if any of the students may be watching. Um, I developed this gift of perfect pitch. People say it all the
Oh.
time. In fact, it was a message that Pastor David Thorpe Jr., shout out to you, Pastor Thorpe, my spiritual father in ministry. Love you so much, man. He shared it as a message title at my dad's funeral, Perfect Pitch.
Mm.
I developed perfect pitch when there was a wasn't necessarily a substitute teacher, it was an intern teacher by the name of Miss Turner. Um, she would be in class, she would be at the piano, and I would just watch her at the piano. She wasn't like a full blown pianist, but she would hit certain notes for everybody to sing it and stuff like that. Um, I would memorize every key that she would hit because it was written
Mm.
right there on the thing. And I would memorize every single key. I even did it one time at the church where I just pressed the key. I'm like, oh, this is C, or this is B flat, or this is D, this is F sharp, or whatever, things of that nature. And I developed that over the years to now I have it all in my memory. So I can
Wow.
tell you verbatim whatever key you sing in right now, I can tell you exactly what that key is. Or if you play a whole chord, I can tell you what that chord is
Wow.
verbatim.
Easy. That's amazing. And I feel like you also, in addition to this musical ability, I feel like you have an ability to remember details because you've been able to recite the teacher's name, everybody's names, the year. Do you find that that's also something that you are really good at, remembering details from different things?
Sort of, kinda. But for the most part, because I remember moments like that and I don't want to forget them, I
You
write some of the stuff down and that helps.
okay. That's
Mm.
That's also the same way with my preaching style. My preaching style may be a little different than what
okay.
others compare it to. Because I started out, matter of fact, can I share this quick story with you?
Sure.
Sure.
This upcoming May, it'll be 20 years since I gave my very first quote unquote sermon at my church. May
Mm.
Mm.
14th, 2005. Dr. Paul Bryant, shout out to him, was our pastor at the time. And we had a youth spring pageant there at the church. Sister Helen Steele, shout out to you, coordinated the
That's my
whole event.
girl.
All of our young people, we were dressed in our absolute finest. So in the middle of the service, we had quite a decent amount of crowd there. It was my turn to go up. I was very nervous. I was wearing my dark green suit. I wish I had the picture, but if you follow me on social media, you'll see it. Um, I got up to speak, and I think the speech was about, I'd say, 5 to 6 minutes long, and I wasn't sure how people would react to it, and I was a little nervous as to how I sounded and everything, and I didn't even have a style. I started out at that time with just a couple sheets of paper, stapled sheets of paper, and I had like maybe 2 or 3 pages, and that was it. And as soon as I got done with my 5 to 6 minutes, everybody stood in a standing ovation with huge applause. And at that time, I could take the applause. I'm like, okay, okay,
That one was okay.
yeah. So, in answer to your question, yeah, I I kind of lost my train of thought. What was the
No,
question again?
no, no, it's okay. I think
About your ability to remember,
yeah,
and
the
you were
Ability,
talking
details.
about your
yes, yeah.
sermon.
A lot of the stuff I write down in my memory, and I never forget it. And when I jot stuff down, especially in my messages and my sermons and things of that nature, it helps me remember. It helps me to articulate certain words that I need to pronounce so I don't miss out on it. I'm like Alex Trebek. I want to make sure I pronounce everything correctly.
Tell
That
some
Okay.
people
way, when I
now.
get pulled out by the coattail after service, be like, yeah, that word didn't sound right.
Mhm,
Can you just share that again?
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I just want to throw out there. I'm sorry, Marlene. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Just quick, what instruments do you play after you learned all those keys and chords? You said you are a musician. What instruments do
I
you
play
play?
drums. I don't necessarily play piano. I'm low key, slowly but surely trying to get there to play piano. I can do my left hand bass line. I just can't do the right hand, like constantly. I'm slowly but surely learning how to get there, but I
Mm.
do memorize everything. And I've also played by ear. I also play by ear. That's helped a lot too, in both my autistic journey and my musical journey as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out there. So it's no longer called Asperger's. Like they took that out of the diagnostic, the DSM
Oh, they
five.
did.
Yeah, yeah. It's either called autism 2 or it just fits under the autism spectrum.
There's like 3
Spectrum.
levels now, right, Keenan? I saw something where I saw level 1, level 2, level 3. Is that what they're doing with it now?
Yeah, something along those lines.
Mhm.
But I know that Asperger's that's definitely not in the updated menu.
DSM.
And part yeah, the DSM, and part of that is because Asperger, he was a German psychologist or whatever during the Nazi era. So they took that out.
I was gonna
That
ask.
wasn't the only reason why, but that's one of the reasons why they took that out of the DSM-5.
Hmm.
Okay. Wow, something new. Wow.
Mhm.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, and I know we're not going to keep you too much longer, but I wanted to know.
hmm
I mean, you you seem to have navigated life pretty well,
By the
based on
grace
all
of God.
based on things you accomplished, employment, marriage. I mean, these are some of the things that some people may not think are possible for people who deal with certain challenges. So, what do you want people to know um, as they relate to adults with autism? Because a lot of times, we're catering towards children
hmm
with autism. But you're a man, you're a full grown man and you're autistic. How do you want people to relate to you as an autistic adult? If that makes sense.
Um,
Or does it?
I'll share with you what I shared with you last year when I talked with you.
Okay.
Hmm.
I want people to understand that autism is not a curse. Even my pastor said this. Pastor Thorpe said
Right.
this. It's not a curse, it's a gift. And so when you see even adults with autism trying to continually progress into the people who we are today,
Mhm.
Mhm.
just know that it took us a journey to get here. And once again, we're just like you, but it's a gift. I accredit everything, my preaching ministry, the way I play music, the way I do certain things at work. I'm a custodial worker at a dietary supplement pill making factory right now. Been there for about 7 years, really as long as I've been married, actually.
Okay.
Um, Everything that I do, I all accredit it to my autism. And it's been not a curse, but it's really been a blessing. Because helped me to elevate and helped me to navigate through life in a certain way, I wouldn't be where I am today, basically. And so don't and this is a message to anybody who has autism, adults and children.
Yeah.
Don't think of autism as a label. Don't let people label you as it. Think of it as a blessing, as a gift from God, because it really is. It really is. God has instilled whatever you need within you to do and accomplish what he's called you to do. And last thing I'll say, and this is a part of the outfit that I have on today. One message that I would share with everybody, not just autistics, but everybody worldwide, that whatever God calls you and equips you to do, even though you don't feel like you're equipped to do it, just do it.
Amen.
I love that.
Do it.
That's
Seriously,
good.
just do it.
Yeah, I
Don't
can't close
feel
better
like
than
you're
that.
wrestling with God. You're going to have moments where you wrestle with God. And I had my share of many wrestling matches, and I lost every single one of them. But thanks be to God, don't feel like you're underqualified or overqualified. God doesn't call people who are qualified. He qualifies those he calls.
Come on.
So don't think of it as, oh, I'm not gifted. I'm not talented enough to do this. I can't fit into this room. You ain't got to fit into the room. The room fits you.
All right now.
You make you. It's not the man that. It's not the clothes that makes the man. It's the
Yeah.
man inside of the clothes.
Come on. Yes.
I'm not preaching here. I'm just trying to free somebody tonight.
No, come
Oh,
on.
you preaching. You
That's all
preaching, buddy.
I'm not preaching. I'm just trying
Have
to free
mercy.
somebody.
It turned from an interview to church just like that.
I'm
Lord have
running to the
mercy.
altar, buddy. You preach.
The doors of
I'm
the
not
Lord's
preaching.
church are open.
give,
But
give, give
seriously,
sister, give Sister Helen Steele my regards, man.
I sure will. I sure will. And I'm so and I know she'll be so glad that I talked to you. But
Yeah.
like I said before, everybody just do what God calls you to do. Don't fight with it. If he tells you at least 2 or 3 times, like he did for me, especially with ministry, when he said, "Will, come back to your first love," just do it. And even when he tells you the first time, you may not feel qualified to do it. People will tell you that you're not qualified to do it, and I've had my share of that too. People said, "Will, you ain't going to be a preacher. Will, you ain't going to be married. Will, you ain't going to be able to drive a car. Will, you're not going to be able to work a job because you have autism."
Wow.
Oh, I've been told that many times. But you know what I say to them? To every person who said that I couldn't, you're just another reason why I could. And why God did. Not me. Not me. God did it.
Amen.
Amen.
Well said.
Oh, every time I talk to you, I just so inspired.
I got to have you at my church, Elder Will. We'll talk.
Praise the
Yeah.
Lord. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Please
preach one
pass
of
me
my
along
youth
the info.
days. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll definitely share. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to reach out to Elder Smith, just reach out to us and we'll connect you. Because as you can see, he definitely has a word on his lips
I
at
have
any moment.
contact
So,
information as well. Just reach out to me.
Just
okay.
want to free somebody. Just
And
want to free
really, for
somebody.
anybody, it doesn't have to be a preaching engagement. It can be anything, man.
Yeah.
Anything. I'm here for you.
Amen.
Allegheny East
Well said,
Conference,
sir.
I'm here for you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming to share.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good
I,
show. Great
Excellent.
show.
yes. Yeah. Definitely impressed by you and your ministry.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
Yes. All right. And thank you also, Keenan, for sharing with us earlier. And to
Beautiful,
all of
Keenan.
you
Yeah,
who
no
are
problem.
in the
No
chat right now, we always encourage you to share your experiences. So we look forward to reading those. But thank you for engaging us in this important dialogue. I think it was definitely informational for me, but also, an opportunity for growth for all of us. So thank you so much. And as you know, we will be back here same time next week, 6 p.m. So look for us then. Until then, have a great week and stay blessed.
Take care, everybody. Have a good Sunday evening.